Welcome to Margin Business Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. In today's episode, we got Chris Shipferling. Chris is the managing partner at Global Wired Advisors. Global Wired Advisors is a leading digital investment bank focused on optimizing the business sales process. Welcome, Chris. I'm happy to have you here today, Chris. Let's talk a bit about yourself. Give us a little bit of information about what you have done so far and where you grew up and where you're located at the moment.
Love it. I love this angle, man. Getting very personal, and I think that's it's much needed sometimes in this sterile environment that we live in, where it's all about the data and the metrics. But so thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. Really appreciate you inviting me to come on and kind of talk about my journey, my story, and then kind of what's going on here today. So yeah, I grew up primarily in Charlotte, North Carolina. Prior to that, I lived in Danbury or Ridgefield, Connecticut, for only 8 years. So I barely remember it. Only remember sledding.
Okay.
That's about it, and maybe riding my bike. But so grew up here in Charlotte. It's a really nice town. I've seen it grow significantly since we first moved here in 1988. So it's been a while. It really turned into a town that was just kind of centered on NASCAR, which is that was the largest industry when I first moved here. To truly becoming a banking town, it's now the second largest financial town outside of New York. So we've got we have all the major banks headquartered here. We've got Wells Fargo East, Bank of America, Truist.
Hi again. Sorry to interrupt your video. I just wanted to let you know that we really appreciate you watching this video right now, and we hope you get lots of value out of it. And I wanted to let you know what Margin Business is actually offering. We offer Amazon listing optimization to Amazon sellers and translation services as well. So we help Amazon sellers to increase their sales in all Amazon Europe marketplaces. One more thing, if you enjoy our content, please hit the subscribe button and give it a thumbs up. So now I let you watch the video.
Allied. We got investment bank like churches on every corner. So it's a big kind of financial services town now. But it was a great place to grow up. And now I've moved back and I moved my wife here and started a family. And it's been cool kind of starting a family and then watching them grow up in the same area you grew up in. So
I think that's definitely amazing when you're from a town and then you go back there and you see the development, I mean, especially now in the US, we must say the bigger cities are developing very rapidly.
Yes.
If you compare with Europe or other parts of the world, it's an immense economic growth. And I didn't hear about Charlotte, but I know that California alone is already a crazy economic machine. So that's really something good, positive for you guys, because then you can still grow with the city, be in your familiar environment, and can really push it. So you went there to university, or you went out of the city?
I left, went to university for 5 years actually. I was on the 5-year plan. Went to two different universities. Went to North Carolina State University to start, and quickly realized that I needed massive amounts of discipline in my life, and I was joining a fraternity and I was partying and not going to class. So I actually disenrolled myself from North Carolina State University and went to a small private Christian college out in Virginia. I met my wife there, and pretty much right after college, we both moved down to Charlotte, and I got married almost right out of college. So we've been married now. Gosh, we got married in 2004. So I guess we'll be celebrating our 17th anniversary. 17th anniversary,
okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Coming up in actually in about a week on the 7th of August. So
sounds good.
Yeah, man. So I got 2 kids and been raising them here, like I said, literally in the same area that I grew up in. I mean, in the actual same area in Charlotte. I probably live. Mom and dad still live in their house, and
that's brilliant, really.
Probably 3 minutes from my house. So and my whole family is here. Her whole family is here. So like we're all
that's really good.
Yeah, it's great, man.
Really nice. So what did you study actually? What is your background for studies?
That's an interesting conversation, my friend. So I was a psychology and religious studies major, and
Okay.
so
Wow.
I studied something completely different
Completely different. Yeah.
from what I'm doing right now. But as soon as I got out of college, I went right into the workforce effectively.
Okay. Okay.
So I started working for a small business. It was like 4 million when I came into the company. It was a Japanese-based stroller and car seat company called Combi, C-O-M-B-I.
Oh
And
yes, I know them. I know them because always shopping for these things.
yeah, well, they, in the U.S. it was a declining brand as a subsidiary.
Yes.
And it wasn't doing well when I came in. But if you go to Japan, in Japan, the market share, when you're looking for what they call in Japanese baby car, right? Baby,
Okay.
basically translated baby car, or a stroller, you're either going to choose a Prica or you're choosing Combi. They own the market share in
Oh,
Japan.
really? It's no
Yeah.
German brands, no rumor, no.
I mean, nowadays, maybe there's been some more market share penetration, but back in 2003, 2004, when I first started with the company, I mean, you go to Japan,
Interesting.
it was Prica or Combi. It was like 98% market share between the two.
Okay.
So I was part of a really a turnaround kind of group that came in. I was fresh off the heels of just college, and I didn't know, my elbow from my rear end when it came to business. And I started at the lowest possible position in the company. And then I made no money, and I just worked my way up slowly but surely. The business grew from 2004 till 2010 while I was part of that management team.
Okay.
The business actually grew all the way up to $22 million in top line sales. Yeah. So while it wasn't necessarily, oh my gosh, exponential, it went from 4 to 100, it took a lot of effort back then because you weren't, we were one of the first baby brands to sell on Amazon. So that was kind of fun. We sold to CSN stores, which is now Wayfair, by the way. We sold to folks like Spreetail, but back then they were called something different. So, we had a lot of different channels channels of revenue concentration. So we were in Babies R Us, like 50% of our business was through Babies R Us, Toys R Us. We were in Target. We had some presence in Walmart. We were in Bed Bath & Beyond, or Bye Bye Baby, as they call it. So it took a lot of effort back then to get a company.
Oh, 100%.
Selling through wholesale, right? I mean, this is all wholesale dollars. This is not.
We talk about wholesale, yeah.
Top line revenue, yeah. So I mean, from a top line revenue perspective, you're talking about a company that would have, probably materialized close to 35 or 40 million dollars in sales. So it was really fun to be part of that management team, where when I first started, I was the lowest sales and marketing person you could possibly ever find in the company. Before I left, I was actually running the sales and marketing for the company. And so it was a really cool kind of small business story while I was there. And it was a lot of learning. I mean, it was talk about school of hard knocks and on the ground learning. That's where I got my MBA.
Okay. Yes, sure.
Being forced to basically, sit inside of large board meetings in Tokyo and talking about, your unit economics, and talking about, managing your P&Ls by different channels and understanding what your profitability looks like through a channel mix and a retail mix. And it was on the ground training, man. It was awesome.
I can imagine, because the thing is, when we talk about culture, different cultures, because our business as well the same, with always different cultures. But when you need to do a presentation in front of the Japanese, if you have not lived in the country before, or you didn't do your research a little bit how they are reacting, and you stand in front of them, and some real high-level CEOs, you don't even know the reaction, if they're happy or not happy, or
you have no idea. And that's the thing. If anybody is listening and they're wanting to do any business with a Japanese company, here's my biggest and best piece of advice. Just because they say yes doesn't actually mean they mean yes.
Exactly.
I learned that the hard way. I was like, man, these guys are agreeing with everything I'm throwing in front of them. And no, that's not the case. Just because they go, it doesn't actually mean they agree with you. And they loved at the time, I'm not sure if they still do, but man, they loved laser pointers. Anytime I'd give a presentation, they all got their laser pointers out and they would laser point to, specific fine points on the PowerPoint.
Okay.
The nuances were funny, and they're a very trendy culture.
Yes,
while
definitely.
I was there, one of the big trends in Japan was to have cell phone charms. So you literally have your cell phone, and at that time it was a flip phone, and you'd have little like Hello Kitty charms and everything.
Yes.
Well, it's so trendy that my chairman, who is 85 years old at the time, he had them on his cell phone. My CEO, who was his son, Mr. Matsura, he had him on his cell phone. And then our subsidiary chairman, Mr. Kasai, who was also probably 65 years old, he had the cell phone charms too.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it was like when a trend hits in Japan, it runs like wildfire throughout the entire country. It's a very interesting culture. I love Japan.
Oh, Japan. I have been to Japan as well. I have been to Japan in 2014.
Okay.
I was still,
a great country.
I mean, it's an amazing country. We only 10 days, but still there, I've seen a lot. But when they have all these cell phone things, what you were talking about, they make some noise, right? And when 10 people have them on your phone, on their phone, is it not a little bit disturbing?
I can't recall. I can't recall if it was or not. I just remember going, wow, like
okay.
Every Japanese man, the last time they visited did not have these. And the next time they visited, all of them had it. It was always that. It's like that much of a strong, trendy culture.
Okay. It's like the Shambhala in 2010 or something, something like that. But I get very fast distracted. So if many people would have the same on their phone, I would literally like, okay.
Yeah.
Now,
well, it was meaningful to me. I remember going, wait, what in the? It was pretty stunning. So
that's a really, really nice experience, really. So Japan is definitely an experience. Definitely the culture. For me, what I always say, in order to not only to understand, but first of all to go into the culture and to begin to understand a little bit, you need to be at least in the country 6 months to 1 year in order to really settle down and understand what is going on. If not, it's more
it is. No, I agree.
To do business as well is very tough, like especially as well in Zoom calls, like you say, yes. I had Zoom calls with Japanese companies. They didn't went positive at the end. I mean, it's a good experience, but you never know what is actually happening, so you give your best, but still, it's afterwards it's a question of culture, and it's a question what they want and how they see the different companies they want to work with. Great. So 2010, back from Japan, or
no? Well, yeah. I mean, I was working for the subsidiary. It was based here just south of Charlotte in a town called South Carolina. So yeah, kind of fast forward. I actually went to go work for a much larger business called Evenflow. I was there for 3 years. It was more of kind of that true medium-sized business, kind of more of an enterprise style company.
Okay.
Lots and lots of people. We had our own manufacturing plants in Piqua, Ohio, that actually made our own car seats and some of our other products that we would run through there. Had lots of presence kind of globally. We had a big office down in Mexico City, had a really big presence in Mexico. And I came in as a director of sales. I was one of about 4 other directors of sales. So kind of the hierarchy was, you had your CEO. I had 3 of them in 3 years. We were private equity owned. So there was a lot of shuffling that occurred while I was there. And then we had a VP of sales, but the VP of sales was a true figurehead. So our CEO would just work directly with the director of sales and just kind of come directly to us to work. It was very intriguing environment. But so I worked there, and I worked with specific large, key accounts, as well as, managing that particular channel to drive the product mix, the products, strategy. And so I worked, it was really my first taste at working in a larger environment, in a large cross-functional environment as well. So, I had an engineering team, and I had a product development team, and I had a brand team, and I had a trade marketing team, and we would all put our heads together to take a look at one channel and say, okay, what's the most appropriate product for this channel? How are we going to plot out all of our marketing and trade marketing to try and drive this, what's called POS, or point of sale, units kind of per day, per week, et cetera. So it was a much more, I'd say, it was a much stronger learning experience. I mean, I worked around folks who worked at Jarden and P&G, and my CEO, when I first came in, he turned around Atari and Dove and Ben and Jerry's, and some very, very, very large enterprise companies. And the next CEO that came in, he was executive general manager of Clorox at one point. The MBAs in the C-suite went to Ross School of Business or Harvard or Yale or Cornell. It was a much different environment for sure, but it was a huge learning experience, almost by osmosis, especially because it was so heavily influenced by P&G. We had so many P&G guys that ran the brand teams and ran the product development. It was really interesting. And also Hasbro too. We had a lot of Hasbro guys.
Hasbro. I love Hasbro. It's Hasbro, Mattel. This is my childhood,
Yeah, for sure.
It's still on them,
Kenner was a company that was based in Cincinnati that was purchased by Hasbro. And a lot of those guys that I worked with, they worked at Kenner, and then they were, when Hasbro purchased them, they worked at Hasbro for a while. So just really, really brilliant minds, true
brands,
CPG minds that I was able to work around. I mean, one of the guys that I worked pretty closely with, I'm actually due to call him for a whole other separate reason here soon, but he's now basically running Airstream, which you're familiar with, the large Airstream trailers, those big, silver trailers that you see, the really expensive ones, like the RVs.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was an intriguing, it was a very, very, it was a good learning experience. And so, to fast forward a little bit more from there, I actually went to go work for a Barcelona-based company. I worked for a premium stroller and car seat company called Jane, which is Barcelona-based. And that was, again, Japanese American, now back to overseas, and a Catalan culture, right? I mean, it was in the hills outside of Barcelona, so it was a very, very much a Catalonian culture. And gosh, again, just a great working with the Spanish was totally different. It was a lot of mañana, and we'll get to it when we get to it. Coming out of a culture in the US where it was, I told you what to do, sir, that was only 20 minutes ago. Yeah, but I expect it to be done. Coming from that culture, it was just a much different pace. So yeah, I worked there for a few years. And, while I was there, I was starting to grow frustrated with the opinion of a buyer, right? I was getting really frustrated with going in and walking into, kind of name that key account, whether it's Burlington, whether it's Sears or Kmart, whether it was Buy Buy Baby, Walmart, Target. There was always some level of a buying team while they tried to do the best they could to bring objective data to the table. You're still dependent on a subjective opinion from a buyer. And so I just said, I'm tired of it. I want to go and have a conversation directly with the consumer. And at the time, it was the caregiver or mom and dad or the parent. I want to have that direct conversation with them. And so that's when I had about $500,000 of inventory sitting in my warehouse. And, I've worked with Vendor Central since 2004. So I had familiarity with the actual, kind of Amazon sales. But my brother-in-law actually was working with FBA since 2006 when it first started. So I had a lot of kind of by osmosis understanding of the marketplace and Seller Central. But then in 2015, like late 14, 15, I dove in head first. There's no executive course out there at Princeton or Yale where you can learn Seller Central. It's the school of true hard knocks. So I listened to the AM/PM podcast. I listened to Manny Coates. I listened to Kevin King, and I just put my head down and I really learned Amazon Seller Central. Taking a widget, you take a widget and it starts off as a widget with packaging and you ship it into Amazon. And then from Amazon, you learn how to take that widget and convert it through a listing optimization, keywords, your title, because you also can't be that, at least this was the most intriguing thing I learned, is that mixture of art and science, right? The mixture of, I can't just be a keyword driven listing like you would find in SEO back in like 2008. Hi, this is a dentist, and dentists love to work on teeth, and these teeth need to be really clean, and dentist, teeth. You know, it had to actually have that art where you're trying to convert. And that was more or less my background in working in trade marketing and also just working in product development, right? You know, the kind of what's the titles that will convert on shelf? What are the things that we want to say on shelf that quickly try and convert a consumer? And so it was really learning how to recreate, in effect, you're learning how to recreate an in-store experience through a marketplace. And so that $500,000 of inventory, it went away. I got rid of it, lots of trial and error. I messed up a ton. I had some wins. I had some not so good wins, but I learned Seller Central, and it was a really, really, really beneficial pivot in my career. Because from there, I started learning digital marketing. I started really getting to understand the mechanics of Facebook Ad Manager, the mechanics of Google AdWords, Google Console, Google Analytics, and diving in and really understanding what all the metrics mean and how to translate that to your own business. And then I started my own consulting firm where I went and helped formulate digital strategy for enterprise clients. So in the space that I worked in baby products and a little bit of toy, mainly baby products, very, very antiquated industry. It still is. And there are a lot of brands that are just kind of stuck in that wholesale land. And during that time, what I did was I helped not so much on the execution side, but really sitting down and saying, hey, here's a strategy that will make sense for your business. Here are the ways you need to start focusing and thinking about digital strategy. And I also did a little bit of execution on the Amazon side.
Did they take it?
I say what?
Did they take it?
I mean, the folks that I worked with, especially kind of dipping their toe in on the Amazon side, they would actually do it. It became more difficult to execute on the digital marketing side because it's such a large investment. Definitely. And it takes a lot longer to get to a specific place with that. So, but on the Amazon side, they were much more open because honestly, the traffic is, like the current's already there. Huge, yes. It's a matter of tapping the current, right? So yeah, I did that. And then, from there, I met my partners here in Charlotte. We met through Happenstance. And so I came to them. And at the time, I knew somebody who needed to sell their company. They had a really nice direct-to-consumer stroller business, someone that I knew from the industry.
An Amazon company, correct?
It was actually, at that point, they pivoted their company away from Amazon, and it was like 90% off Amazon now and 10% Amazon. But still, nonetheless, it was a digital consumer product company, and they were looking, starting to entertain the idea of selling the business. Well, when I met my three partners, they owned a company that was focused more, it was an investment bank like ours, but focused on more traditional businesses. And so when I met with them, they actually had a private equity effort. I won't name any names, but they called a well-known business broker in this space, looking for a e-commerce asset to purchase. They were looking for some type of e-commerce business to potentially buy, right? Okay. So they called up a well-known broker who I won't mention. They had a very quick conversation with them and realized, this is before I met them, realized that this space was so underserved from a true kind of sell-side engagement process. From that process of really preparing your business to go and sell, preparing your business to go to market, and then actually running a real process to sell the company, they realized in that phone call that this space was wildly underserved. And they started to formulate a thesis. At the same time I met them, I introduced them to my contact engaged with them. And then we started having conversations, the four of us, and said, hey, digital, consumer products really well. We come from bulge bracket investment banks, Deutsche, Citi, Wells, Bank of America. We know how to run a sophisticated process. Let's combine the digital expertise and the consumer product expertise along with our banking expertise and financial expertise. And let's start something. And the thesis was, this whole entire universe is massively underserved. You don't find any investment banks in this space. It's very rare. When I've come on the scene and I've said, we're an investment bank for digital consumer products, I get a lot of, oh, so you buy businesses? No, we don't do that. We sell companies, because no one is used to having an investment bank in this space. And so I have to do a little bit more explaining of what we actually do. So it's been wonderful. I mean, that's really was the genesis of Global Wired Advisors, was a thesis that we believe by deploying a sophisticated process that you would find at JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs and some of these very large middle market investment banks, by deploying that same process to small to medium sized digital consumer product focused companies, that the outcome every single time will be so much better. And now, having done this many, 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 many times in the past 3 years, I can definitely tell you, yes, the outcome is always better. It's always better going through this process versus a business broker process. And it's always, always better going through this process than in this environment, going directly to an aggregator and just selling your company to the first person that hits your inbox. Because that's what's happening.
It's true. That's true. It's a new trend.
Sellers, they need to sit back and go, okay, well, I just got hit in my inbox by 17 different aggregators, all telling me the same thing, literally the same thing. Hi, we close quickly, we have money, and we're great at operating. That's awesome. The past 16 that I just talked to, they all said the same thing. So you need someone to help distinguish between all the noise. We know all 100 plus aggregators, but the appetite for FBA assets, the appetite for good digital consumer product assets, it goes so far beyond the aggregator world. And that's something else that sellers need to be well aware of. There are so many more buyers than just the aggregators that are hitting your inbox. You only think it's the aggregators because they're the only ones hitting your inbox. You know why they're doing that? Because it's not actually what happens in real capital markets. That's a very, very, I'd say, pointed activity for this market. When you're talking about middle market, like true kind of CPG brands, they'll get poached by private equity, but they will, I mean, it is a rarity that some corporate finance team gets an email from a private equity fund and says, hey, you know what? I don't want to go through a process. I just want to sell to you. Thanks for reaching out. No. They hire a bank, a really sophisticated bank. They prepare the company for market. It takes 2 to 3 months to do that, sometimes a lot longer.
Lawyers.
All of their ducks in a row. And then they go out to 100, 200, 300 different fits, good fits, potential buyers for that company. And that's what we're trying to educate this market on. Hey, don't sell yourself to the first guy that hits your inbox, man. That's not how it's like that Geico commercial, right? It's not how this works. It's not how any of this works, So yeah, that's kind of the genesis of Global Wired and what we're doing now, which is, kind of taking that. And I love your podcast here because it really does kind of show the context of that story. It's because there are a lot of folks who woke up one day and said, I can sell people's businesses. It's like,
I know.
No, man. Who you choose as your representation. So when you choose Global, it's someone who has had decades of experience in true CPG, along with a transactions team that comes from, we only hire from large investment banks. So our whole transaction team outside of my partners came from Wells Securities and Piper Sandler and Trinity Capital and Jefferies and large enterprise institutional level middle market investment banks. So that's the team you're getting when you choose us. That's your M&A team when you choose us, basically. And that matters, right? It matters immensely because on the other side of all that is you're going to make more money out of the deal. You're going to make more money. You're not going to leave anything on the table. So anyways, hopefully I kind of formulated that a little bit in a good Reader's Digest form.
I think it's really good. You formulated it really good as well, because not everyone has a level of financial education like from the big corporates, the big companies. So I think it's really clear. My opinion of this is throughout the years there was no company or very few companies who actually bought this trend. I have an impression, I'm in the space. I have the impression it came in the last year, in the last 1.5 years, it's just exploded. Everyone was now buying companies, and we talk about large, huge funds. When we talk about the highest sellers on Amazon, we talk about something 9 figures, 10 figures. I mean, there is some money to make, and there's as well some money to pay to these people, because they built this business up to 9, 10 figures. So I'm sure they want real cash for that, So I think it's it must be a huge industry right now. It's incredible.
It is. I was talking to somebody earlier about the most recent Prosper conference, in Las Vegas a couple of weeks ago, and yeah, it was actually a bit frustrating, to be blunt. The frustration really, and I talked to several people about this, and sellers especially felt very frustrated. It was just all about acquisitions. I'm in the space. That's what I do for a living. I help people facilitate the sale of their company. I'm in that space day in, day out. I was frustrated. I walked in and it was all about acquisitions. There was, very little, in my opinion. I don't want to exaggerate. There was some, but still, I'd say it's a minority percentage of, hey, here's how to help you grow your business. Here's how to help you become a stronger brand. Here are the things that, let's just put acquisitions aside. Here are the things that are going to make you a healthier business. Here's some advanced tactics on this marketplace and these marketplaces that will really help you advance the company to a much different level. Hey, you struggling with logistics and supply chain issues? Yeah, guess what? All of us are. So let's talk about that for a moment. Let's get deep about that. Let's brainstorm and formulate on how we can actually really fix this issue right now. Yes. What can we do as a group? One of the things that I appreciate of industry is you always had trade associations. So in the baby space, it's called the Juvenile Products Manufacturing Association. One of the things that they do, and they do it well, and most large corporations who are part of the association, they're paying a lot of money to them, but they're in Washington and they're lobbying for all the regulations, against bad regulations and against bad legislation. And they're lobbying right now. I just got an email from a friend of mine who's still in the space. They're lobbying with the Biden administration to try and help fix the ports right now. I mean, imagine as this industry and this sector starts to mature, and we've got like the e-commerce cooperative, right? Which I think is great, but it's just not well known. Imagine if we actually got some really big brains and some really heavy cash behind, an association, e-commerce association, to lobby for things that matter to the e-commerce community.
It still don't exist. It still don't exist
because it does not exist. And that was part of my disappointment, which is, and I was able to talk to this person in particular who has influence over Prosper Conference. And I said, I love the Prosper Conference. It was my first time I went. I absolutely loved it. It was fantastic. Probably one of the best Amazon conferences that's out there. But I just think we need to get past this. It's so heavy right now, just this acquisition talk, and it's convoluted, and it's dumbed down, and it doesn't need to be. Sellers are getting fed a dog's breakfast with some of this content that's out there, and it's growing a level of frustration for sure. I mean, Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, sorry. What I want to say is, the whole industry right now, I'm always saying it's still a baby, it's like a baby. You still, you give them and it grows, but we're not even there yet. You understand? So imagine right now we talk about sellers. This is not something, wow, we talk about 9-10 figures. It's not something like, whoa, imagine 20 years down the line, 50 years down the line, what is going to happen with the e-commerce space. We talk about some numbers which go completely through the roof,
Yeah, and it just, it's right now we're experiencing that level of maturation, and it's just we're going through some growing pains and it hurts. That's really what it is. So, there was a company there. That's what I was going to say. There was a fund there that was walking around basically saying, "Win a Tesla," refer a friend and win a Tesla. And I'm like, oh, everybody was like, look, we're talking about it. I get it. It's kind of like Henry Ford, say anything you want about me, but just spell my name right. So I get that, it was a marketing ploy and people are actually discussing it. We are now, but at the same time, I'm not going to say anything positive about it. I'm going to say how negative that was and how it completely just dumbs down a process that does not need to be dumbed down. And I just shook my head. I was with some friends at Prosper, friends that I consider pretty smart people. And we all just looked at the t-shirts and we were like, what circus did we sign up for? What is going on right now? So yeah, I'm ready for some more grown-ups to come into the room, some more adults to bring more maturity, I'd say, into the sector. So anyways,
I think it's much needed. It's much needed, most definitely, because like I said, it's already very big. And, you know, if you could bring this in and, you know, make as well the sellers understand, you know, that there are certain things they need to adapt, you know, because without that, they will not grow. There is,
that's right.
You know, it's the whole business, you know, in general, because most of the Amazon sellers, what happens if they're not big corporations, they sit on their own and that's it. You know, they don't think further. You understand? So
that's right.
At some point, the whole thing going to crash down.
That's right.
Some maybe don't go out and do the email marketing. They only live off Amazon. And you know, Amazon don't care if you are a 10-figure seller or 1,000 per month. If they shut you down, they shut you down. You can scratch the walls and nothing will happen, you know.
Nothing happens. Yeah. The only thing that you've done is you funded Mr. Bezos to go back to space. That's basically
exactly. That's good. That's a good one.
No, I think there needs to be a level of, and you know, I'm already starting the conversations with what I would consider some other, you know, very thoughtful people within this particular space, you know, and it's not just Amazon. It kind of it branches out towards the D2C community, like the full e-commerce community.
Yes, there is a lot more.
There definitely needs to be more Amazon lobbying. There needs to be more kind of putting really smart brains together, because again, like look at the supply chain right now. I mean, everybody's affected, but you know, if you really started getting some louder voices within this space, I mean, that's something that could either the voices could carry into real legislation, right, into the real government kind of interjection, or B,
they need to do something. They got to do something, you know.
You got to do something. That's right. You know, one of our portfolio companies, because we have a private equity effort as well, and one of our portfolio investments, we just got quoted $23,000 for a container. And we're scrambling right now. We're getting creative. You know, we're looking at doing LCL, less than container load. We're looking at taking in, you know, a smaller amount of pieces and sharing other container space. But I wish I had a cooperative to sit down and go, guys, I got an issue, help me. You know. So
yesterday I received an email. Exactly. It was what was it? Shanghai European port. Yeah, what you were saying, 23,000 or something, 40-foot container. What's wrong with them, you know?
That's crazy. And that's September. Like that was being quoted for September. We're not even in Q4 demand yet. You know, so when we start getting into October, I mean, gosh, I can't even imagine where the quotes are going to be. It means something has got to give. So anyways.
Anyway, I think afterwards, this is a different conversation, but I think afterwards there is other countries which will mature from now. They will not have the same process and the same stability and the same structure as China. But you know, we will be going there, and maybe even the US at some point they will come down with taxes and labor and everything what needs to be in. You know, so yeah,
we need it, man.
For sure. So I have two questions for you. For example, I mean, you're really motivated. You're a passionate guy. What you do. You learned something completely different. You're in a complete other space. And I really think that's amazing, because I hear passion, I hear motivation.
Yeah.
What drives you completely? I mean, when you get up in the morning, I don't know what time you get up, but when you get up in the morning, what does motivate you in general?
Man, I think it's two things. We genuinely love, we say it around here a lot, and it sounds like a pitch. So since I'm not doing a pitch and I'm just having a casual conversation, hopefully it translates much better. We really love helping small to medium-sized businesses. Like we love working with small business. We love working with founders and owners and watching them go through a real process, working with a team that's heavily experienced, that, you know, comes in and actually gives a crap, like the owner, like the founder. And on the other end of that, we see lives changed through true liquidity events. I mean, these are guys and gals who, you know, literally yesterday had, you know, maybe they poured all of their cash into the business, or, you know, they might have had a little bit of wealth or whatever. And the next day, you know, 10, 15, 20, $30 million shows up in their bank account. That's a life-changing event. It's a life-changing liquidity event. And it's very rewarding, because really what we're helping is on that kind of last mile of the founder's journey. You know, we're coming alongside them. They're usually weary, they're downtrodden, you know, the passion has left the building, and we really subsidize all of that to get them through the goal line and help them produce just a very strong liquidity event. So that from a business perspective, and then, man, I mean, my family, if you would just want to be fun, you know, the having 2 kids and a wife that depend on me, it'll motivate you pretty fast.
I know what you're saying. So yeah, that's you know, that's a lot of motivation. That's super. I mean, it's super interesting. Everything what you were talking about, and definitely, I'm already sure I know what you're going to say, but the message, what you want to give out to the world.
To the world, yes.
To the world.
I'm sure we've already seen the dress rehearsal, man. Yeah, it's pretty simple. Look, I think whoever's listening, if you're considering some level of planning for an exit, or you're not, but you've just got a lot of questions about, you know, again, there's a lot of noise out there right now. There's a lot of noise. There's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of poaching going. You know, you're hearing from a lot of different funds. We're unbiased. We have no bias towards any fund. They have a bias. We do not. So when you talk to us, it's going to be pure and unadulterated, just cutting through all the white noise and being able to really give you a good kind of analytical approach to what's happening right now in this particular space. We're also very resourceful too. I mean, you and I met just because someone else introduced us, because you offer a really great creative service for sellers looking to get into Europe. And that's definitely something that now is added to our resource list. And so, you know, you kind of go through the functions of a brand. We've got vetted resources across all functions effectively. So the message is, hey, if you just want to just set some time to chat about what's happening in the space, or, you know, you're looking to grow and you need some help when it comes to growth resources, just set up some time. I'm here.
Okay, that sounds perfect. Where can people get to you? I mean, where can people contact you? And
great question.
Email or
just go to my website, and my email address and my phone number is actually on the website. So
great.
You know, you can just, and then we have a consultation form that you can fill out. We've got a valuation tool, which it's like 90,000 feet.
Okay.
You know, but we put some data in there. We noticed that in this space, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs love to put in numbers and just kind of get an idea of what they may be worth. So we just said, hey, I think it's a good tool. But yeah, you can do it that way. But there's many ways on my website,
right.
globalwiredadvisors.com to get in touch with us.
We'll put it here.
That's right.
Okay, great, perfect. Awesome. Thank you so much, Chris, for this conversation. It's I learned a lot, and I'm sure everyone will love it. It's amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Appreciate the time.
Okay, talk later. Bye.